Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle from Elevated Planet. And today we'd like to welcome you to a new show. And John is going to tell us a little bit more about it.
So 2024 to 2034, a decade of revolution. This was kind of just going through the invitation here because this is important. We need to make sure that we cover this off and do justice to these particular points. So political dramas disguise the real issue. The system is broken. And I'm sure there's many of you already nodding your head there, right? And we've got about innovative new economic model that will arise that serves humanity. Brutal cycles perpetuated by the few at the expense of the many. We are set to awaken to our extraordinary vibrational powers. Fear and division will become history as we create our new earth. So we're going to cover off all these things and so much more. I think the second half of 2024 is the thing that we've been talking about now for the longest time, and we're now in it. And this is where we start to begins the big reveal, the awakening of mankind as to the what is really going on behind the scenes, and our awakening to our true power, which is the really important part. Now, all this doesn't take place in the second half of 2024, and you will understand why we're talking about a decade for some major changes to take place. Because we're talking about, almost top to bottom kind of changes are going to happen. And the changes will go beyond the decade as well, for that matter. But we have shifted into a new era. We've shifted into a new 13,000 year cycle, as we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, as of the 22nd of December 2012. So we're already deep into that cycle. But we're still really only beginning it, because when you're talking about 13,000 years, the odd 12 years that has taken place, or 11 and a half years that's we've moved through already, is the blink of an eye compared to a 13,000 year cycle. So we're still getting rid of the old, we're still building into the new. Now, today, we are going to reach out for some galactic wisdom through Lee Harris and the Z's. Now, we have tapped into their wisdom before, and it is quite something. And the importance of this is it's about seeing the wood for the trees, because here we are, we're humans on the planet Earth, and we're so embroiled in day-to-day life. It's like seeing the wood for the trees. You don't see things a lot of the time because we're too close to what's going on. So what better than to get some off-planet wisdom from a higher dimension that can tell us what's happening, where it's going, and all this kind of thing. So forewarned is forearmed, and, it helps us to plan. Now, Lee Harris is the one who channels the Z's. The Z's are a galactic collective of 88 beings. So the obvious question from a mainstream perspective is, do you believe in the ability of a person to channel so-called galactic entities? Or is it all deluded nonsense, right? So I know, speaking on behalf of myself, my studies have revealed that this is completely possible. And I 100% believe that this is actually the truth, that this is actually happening. And Lee is not just making this up. This is kind of something that comes through him and has done since, I think it was 2004, maybe even earlier than that. So he's been doing this for 20 years plus now. We always respect the fact that people have the divine right to doubt whether this is true, to doubt whether this is real. And we do encourage discernment. Discernment is an important thing in this day and age, regardless of whether Elevated Planet is telling you something or the mainstream media is telling you something. It's a time where it pays to take a step back and decide for yourself. And I think that this is the key thing, really, regardless of how you feel about the idea of channeling at this stage. Just kind of open your mind and focus on the depth of the explanations that come through, the wisdom that comes through. And does it feel right to you? And I think that's a key thing. Does it feel right to you? Because we're not here to tell you what to believe and what not to believe. We're just here to plant the seeds. You're the one who has the choice as to whether those seeds germinate. But we put this stuff hand on heart, believing this to be truth. Okay. But again, we respect your free will to have an alternate view. That's the way that life is supposed to be. We're all different for a reason. The diversity of the planet is a strength, not a weakness. We shouldn't all be following the same line. So, Jolé, do you want to add something before we leap into section 1 of Lee Harris?
Yes, I would just like to add, as always, we can build a skill set which can help us maneuver through this energy that is coming up. Because first and foremost, it really is about us as an individual cleaning up our side of the street and our backyards, and then learning how to connect with others in order to move into that energy that we speak about. So it is a focus and a concentrated effort. And I'm so glad that Lee Harris is really giving us priorities and ways to prioritize how we go about healing ourselves. And so this is going to be a really great show with a lot of good information. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Jolé. Fantastic. Right. With that said, we are now going to leap over to our first little section here, which covers off the politics side of things, which I know is front and center for many people right now as a point of interest. So take it away, Lee Harris and the Z's.
My first question to you is that I've discovered that this year we're going to have 50% of the countries in the world are going to have an election. It means there's going to be a great shift in leadership around the world. What do you see for this great shift? How does that connect to our spiritual and conscious growth throughout the world?
Well, we see people being quite furious in the years to come when it comes to this low vibration system you call politics. So already people are tired. Already people are disillusioned, and more people are beginning to see the corruption of those systems and to understand the corruption of those systems. And we will say there are some who are going into that system to try and enlighten it, to try and lighten the load, but it's hard work for them because they are not the majority. And the majority who are in there have either become, in a sense, wrapped in those energies of corruption themselves, not necessarily through choice or through will, but because when you stay in a certain vibration for a long period of time, it becomes the clothing you wear. So we will say this to you. You think at the moment that people are fighting, and we would say people are fighting politically at a low level right now, meaning they are still believing in the game. They are still believing that this game can help them win, and it can't. It can't because the system itself needs an entire overhaul. But while people are fighting about who they want rather than what they want, they are completely missing the point. Very few people are happy with any of the candidates they are being offered. Why is no one paying more attention to that and saying that needs to change? People are slowly waking up to the fact that there is a great divide between people and government that perhaps they have never seen before or never cared to see. So this is going to be the decade of revolution where that is concerned, but it happens slowly for a reason. Some of you may say, I'm so frustrated with the fact that this keeps going on. And we'll say, well, it has been going on for many, many thousands of years in different forms. Before government, it took the form of the church, or it took the form of the leadership groups of each enclave in each area of the world. So what we will say is you are going to, anyone listening, it's okay that you feel angry about what you are seeing, experiencing, witnessing. Be mindful of what you do with that anger. Does it really help to rip the head off of somebody who you disagree with? No, the system is designed to get you into that activated fight or flight so that you don't really pay attention to what's actually happening. You instead get emotionally activated and thus distracted, rather than taking a good look at what is this system that we have all been agreeing to for so long. You are going to see a technological revolution, a political revolution, and a human revolution in the years to come. And it is going to be, we will say, a very wavy time on Earth. But what we will say to any of you who are in fear about politics, then it has successfully hooked you. You must step out of the fear template that politics is designed to serve into your body. Because while you stay in fear of your master, you will never be free of this dynamic, this relationship. You will not create something new. So What we see from our perspective is the success of politics right now is getting people to fight with each other instead of actually looking at how problematic, low vibration, and dark many of these systems have become.
Okay, our first little pause point here. Yeah, I think a lot of people would actually agree with this because, we're constantly being distracted by candidates who, to be honest, if you think about the millions of people in our respective countries, to think, is this the best we can do? Clearly, that is not going to be the case. And the system is broken. And I lived in the United States for 11 years, and I could sense the corruption in the system. It's not a difficult thing to understand. In the UK, you see so much wasted energy with people and parties fighting between each other. And you think there is a country here, and there are, 66 million people being governed. And yet there is so much wasted energy on attacking each other that you kind of think this is just not right. And you just ask the question, why has it got this way? And I think there's a really important point that's made there at the end, which is all about trying to get people to fight against each other. Because again, it comes back to that story, and I've used this before, but story about the king who's on the top of the hill, looking down at his people who are all revolting against him, and his advisors there. And he says, the trick is not to fight your people, is to get your people to fight each other. And that is exactly what is going on, because there is a small group of people around the planet who are the puppeteers, and their job is to get us to fight with each other, create division, whether it's, country, different, divisional energy, whether it's religious, whether it's race, or gender. There are so many division things brought into play, and it's been really rampant in recent years about how many new divides have been coming in to supposedly help people, but in reality you're creating new divides, because at the end of the day, we're all part of the same race. We're all part of the human race. We all have an equal value. So creating all these divisions, there can be good reasons to do it from time to time, but I'm not kind of convinced that it's being done for the right reasons. But yeah, political system, broken, needs fixing. Sometimes things have to get really bad in order for people to take a step back and realize that now it is no longer a case of who's better than who. It's a case of how do we fix this system? But anyway, let me bring in Jolé.
John, not too long ago, we had a show with Greg Braden that talked about the normalcy bias, how we can just go through same place, same thing, same place, same thing, and not realize and be present in our bodies and saying, hey, this isn't okay with me. What's going on around me and what's happening isn't okay. And maybe, although we're working on the inside, yes, at a local level, we could get involved, and hopefully those two things meet, the spiritual personal development and the volunteering and the doing something about the situation that is at hand. But at the same time, we have to think also. We have to use our minds. So that means being present in our bodies and holding ourselves accountable to spread positive energy.
Yes.
That's kind of where it really starts, at that moment where Disease talked about anger. And anger is, once again, fear manifesting itself. Fear manifesting itself. What is the opposite of love? It's fear. Anger is good in the sense that it can get you motivated and going. But at the same time, if it's not properly processed, it turns into depression, anxiety, because it is sadness, right? And then, so we need, what I'm trying to say is building a skill set so that we are able to process these strong emotions and move into a place of harmony.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because working with your anger is one of the first ways to do it. Just accept the fact that we are socially engineered at times to be angry, and then your needs aren't being met. You're being told one thing, lots of dissonance is going on. So let's sit down and work through some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, very well said. Okay, thank you, Jolé. Right, we're going to move on to the next section. Bear with me a second.
What can you tell people who are afraid of what's coming for the rest of this year and for the next decade?
You have, we will say this kindly, you have stepped out of your own personal empowerment. We are not saying that there aren't experiences that people are having on Earth that are horrific, for there are. And there are groups and individuals who are going through the price of the darkness on Earth right now. And we will say to any of you who have empathy for those people, you have been those people in other lifetimes. You yourself have gone through these dark, brutal cycles that you are still seeing a small group, and we will say this again, a small group perpetuate on Earth. It is a very small number on Earth who wish to perpetuate the brutal darkness cycle. And the reason they are working hard to do it is becoming harder to achieve it. It doesn't mean that you don't have a lot of people on Earth who are what some of you would call asleep to what's going on. You do. And that's through no fault of their own. That is the energy dynamic on Earth right now. And many people have been trained to be asleep, to not think for themselves, to not feel for themselves. But for anyone who is in fear of what is going on in the world, that means you have moved into the energy of fear that the world is signaling to you. Alex, you just said there are many things going on the planet around the world, and we would say far more than you could possibly even know. And yet, there are key storylines that your attention gets focused on by those who want your attention to be placed in certain directions. Mm-hmm. So, what you think you know of the world is just 10% of what is actually playing out. We could give you 20 other examples of each of these major incidents that you are focused on, where the same energy is playing out in other areas. But instead, all of your focus goes there. And the reason it's important to focus people in a very fixed area like that is it amplifies the fear. And the storytelling around it keeps people afraid, which keeps people in the system of power imbalance. As long as you can scare people and tell them that you will look after them, their fear will make them say, okay, good, phew, please do. Instead of, well, hang on a second, what is the truth of this story I'm being told?
Okay, we're going to have a little pause on this one again. And first off, one of the things I meant to do at the beginning is to offer our gratitude to Alex at Next Level Soul for his excellent work. You know, he really does connect with a lot of really very good people with a lot of great wisdom. So thank you, Alex. So the dark, brutal cycles perpetuated by a small group, but it's more difficult for them to maintain this energy of imbalance and fight and getting us to fight each other. Because again, it comes back to that thing. These dark, brutal cycles rely on us dropping into fear and giving away our power to them so that they can create war, so that they can create division energy, and so on and so forth. And there's no doubt about it, there's many in the population who are still, we would regard as asleep at this point in time, who are still going along with the narrative that they get fed. That is totally understandable because this is how we've been programmed and conditioned throughout our life. And yet people will be activated at some point. And I think that the second half of 2024 is one of those times where a large number of people will be activated. And this idea of getting us to focus on a relatively small percentage of what is going on the planet to amplify the fear is a big part of what they do to maintain that power imbalance in their favor. So again, the more we open up to this, the more we realize what's going on, then the less impact that will have. So yeah, interesting times ahead. But Jolé, can I bring you in for comments on that?
Yes, the small group is exactly right. It's not a lot of darkness out there, but it is very loud, right? And it's very distracting. But the light within you, like I was telling John the other day, we were talking about this, like you could be in a stadium of darkness and light a match. And you wouldn't believe how much of it would illuminate. So for us as individuals and our ability to connect and create groups of light is to look for the truth in you. You know, really mind for speaking the truth in the way that you feel it, you see it. And we talked about things resonating and how you will know if they resonate. At some point we'll get to that, but it's important to be present and to feel. That's another thing that is a problem with our systems, is that they're so traumatic at times, they pop you up out of your body and you don't even realize it, because what's happening is you're going into rote and your critical thinking skills are now deteriorating. So once you learn how to come back into your body and feel, and then anchor your body, and then wake up those parts of you that can get spiritually enlightened, that can then feed that physical part of you that leads to optimal health and well-being, that reverberates, you know. So that's what I wanted to add.
Fantastic. Yes, thank you. So, okay, we're going to hit the next section then, and then we'll come back up for air again in another 2 or 3 minutes. Here we go.
It is a wondrous thing to be a soul in a human body and experience Earth. But as well as experiencing Earth, you are also creating Earth. And so we understand that some of you get frustrated that you can't be a vessel for change in some of these lower, darker areas. But you can be a vessel for change in those areas by being a vessel for change in your life, in your immediate community, and by upholding and emanating the values of oneness, kindness, love into your direct life. It has a vibrational effect. And at the moment, many of you are locked out of the game of war. You are included in it when you are wanted as soldiers, or you are included in it when you are wanted as ammunition for the other side, or you are included in it when it is important to manipulate your emotions into enough fear that you will agree to certain things. But the truth is, whether you agree or not, it's out of your hands, but not vibrationally. So the system has locked you out, but the system is not in power of the vibration of this planet. The people are. Which is why the raising of the frequency of every single human being on Earth is how a shift happens. And it only takes 30% of you before the domino effect begins. And you are very close right now. You are very close to reaching that tipping point. So we will say, if you are afraid of what you're seeing in the world, unhook from only living in fear. Stop focusing on the areas that you are solely focusing on. You can have fear, by all means, but don't have it 24/7. That means you have been manipulated and brainwashed through what you are seeing, and forgetting that you actually don't know how many days you have left on this planet. And that's an important thing to remember, because you are here to have an effect as well as have an experience.
Next little pause point. Yeah, there's some key things here. This idea of us having a lot more power than we realize, you know, this is the important thing here. The fact that by raising our vibration, by immersing ourselves in the higher frequency emotions, we've talked on many occasions about the emotional spiral, you know, going all the way from fear, guilt, anger, hatred, all the way up to unconditional love, joy, happiness at the top. Now, naturally, we want to live as close to the top of that cycle as we can. The human experience will always take us up and down that cycle, and that's what the human experience is all about, right? It's about contrast. It's about experiencing things. So, you know, in order to know what you do want, you need to also know what you don't want. So sometimes we have to drop into those cycles in order to come back up to the top of that emotional spiral. And that is where we want to live our life. Now, if we are constantly bombarded with fear, then there is no escape at the bottom end of that emotional spiral. And they say the Z's talk about the 30% is all we need from a consciousness perspective, to have 30% of the population focused on the top end of that emotional spiral. That is the tipping point. That is the thing that takes us towards our world of unspeakable beauty. And we're already closer than you would imagine. So once we go through this next 6 months, once we allow this to unfold, and a lot more people, excuse me, begin to awaken, the voice is going, getting too excited. begin to awaken, then that will take us over that tipping point, and that accelerates things back in our favor towards the light, towards our world of unspeakable beauty. So, Jolé, can I bring you in?
Absolutely. So, you know, when we understand ourselves and we really work with our own energy, we can start to control or influence the environment around us. And one of the ways to do that is to fill up with the good first. Like, it is real when we talk about meditation and intangible energy. When you put your feet flat on the floor and your intentions are clear, you know, and you do your exercises and you say, this is my goal, this is what I'm headed towards, and you look forward and you do the things that get you there, it happens. People tell you all the time. But the thing is, you are thrown so many distractions around you, you know, to where you're like a cat in a laser. And it's all about you needing to get better, needing to improve. You're not enough. You're not. So put all of that down. Know that you are enough. Know that it is possible. And when you see it, do not, what I mean by when you see it is when you're looking outside of yourself and on the TV and you go, that don't look right. That don't feel right. But don't turn that into something that's normal. Like, oh no, their kids are going to get hurt too. They're not going to do that. Why would they poison their entire workforce? Why would they do that? Sometimes those things that you think and feel are real. So the left and the right hand sometimes are not working in tandem. So it's important that you get your left brain and your right brain working in tandem and your body present. So that's what I'd like to say is a skill set to have, especially when it comes to anger, is fill up with the good before releasing the bad in a spiritual capacity. So before removing the negativity from your body down your grounding cord, make sure you fill up with gold light. You fill up with positivity. Let's say you want to stop a certain habit. Fill up with the opposite of that. See what that looks like. Turn it a color, you know, let it move throughout your body. And then the habit you're trying to let go of, turn that a color and send that down your grounding cord. And utilize this as a daily practice so that before you know it, you're moving in a way in which you want. And your actions are in alignment with the way in which you are thinking and moving and developing yourself.
Fantastic. Yeah, you've got to be able to bring in the new stuff, haven't you? Because it's nature abhors of a vacuum, right? That's
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Jolé. Right, we are going to crack on to the next section. Bear with me a second.
Now, how do you see humanity's collective consciousness shifting over this next year?
Well, first of all, there is going to need to be a little bit of a plunge. And what we mean by that, and we are not saying we would like to see that plunge, we are saying the inevitability. We will say that many of you are tracking world events, energetic events, astrological events. But it is going to be a very interesting time on Earth. There is going to be a grace period between January and March where humans will collectively rise as a result of a reaction to what will take place in the second half of 2024. There will be many high moments between now and the end of this year where people's eyes will open. People's hearts will open and people's minds will open. You have to remember, when you have been in a controlling relationship for a long time, you are scared to leave it, you are scared to challenge it because of the consequences, and you believe that you are trapped. It takes time to galvanize the body, the nervous system, get the support around you to leave the controlling relationship. And currently, the majority of humans are waking up to the fact that there is a level of controlling relationship they have been in their whole lives. But that doesn't have to mean that their joy, their happiness, their love that they have felt all the time that that controlling relationship has been active wasn't real, isn't real. Of course it is. You see, dark cannot control light. It tries to dim it. It tries to control it, but it simply can't.
coming back to the second half of 2024 is obviously going to be an interesting time, and we might get some respite between January to March, where we take a step back and consider what happened in the second half of 2024, which will continue to unfold for us, whatever that is going to look like. I mean, we've seen some things triggering off in the UK this last week, which are certainly far from normal. And yeah, you can start to see the fractures within society. Whether that turns out to be anything that is going to build remains to be seen. But certainly, I think we're in for some times of real change in the future. But sometimes it has to go darker before the light will emerge. So it's going to be an interesting time for the collective, a time of awakening of hearts and minds. So what we have to remember is that whatever is going to happen is supposed to happen, because chaos is a prerequisite for change. Because if life continues as normal, then, you know, what is your incentive to change? So when you start to see things that may be unacceptable to you, and you know there are so many better things that you could aim for, then that is a time when, you know, people do get more into their hearts and feel the compassion and kindness coming through, rather than steeped in the fear and the anger. And then you can start to make changes, and collectively we can come together and create that world of unspeakable beauty. Because again, this is something that will continue to be spoken about at large. When you get a collection of 100 people together, you know, with collective consciousness focusing on high frequency energy, 100 people is the equivalent of 10,000, because of the amplification factor that sits within that. It squares, the number squares. So dark cannot control the light. It will try to dim it, and it may succeed for a brief while, but ultimately this is when we will step back into our power, because these are the trigger points for many people to awaken to the truth of what is actually happening. So Jolé, what would you care to add?
You know, I'd like to just add a little bit of a personal story here about how important it is what he said about the economy being not important. And that is, you know, a lot of us have absconded from the corporate structure and the system, but sometimes that can put the squeeze on you, right? So then you want to, so for me, I'm putting my toe back in and going into the past and going, well, maybe I should try this. And it's amazing because the creator is like, nope, you're going to get slammed every time. But once you step out of that system and you go back in for a peak, it's like you realize it's traumatizing. It is absolutely traumatizing. And the way in which we're moving and educating our children, the entire system is meant to traumatize you. I should go into a job interview and I should feel amazing after I leave, no matter whether I got the job or not. Do you know what I mean? Because you want to represent what that person is walking into. And I think you would want to represent something that would be a place they'd want to work, right? You want them to go in and be like, wow, this is so cool. I want to be here. But I walked in like fear, shame, automatically. I didn't even do anything, but I was fearful. I was shameful. I felt the judgment. I felt all of that energy in that system. And I was ready to eat it again. So I want us to be mindful of the dissonance, because that's how they get us oftentimes. And so really working in your brain and working out right brain, left brain, get familiar with the science of how your brain works so that you can influence and take control over that situation. It's very important that we take our power back. The Z's talk about how these small groups and these forces are eating away at us. They're sort of vampiric in a way. So I just really want us to wake up, critically think about, wait a minute, you know, no, that's not right. You know, this isn't right for me. And I'm not going to go into a place of lack in order to feed into the energy of this prison planet. Instead, I'm going to elevate myself, pull back my power, and see a different outcome.
Yes, that's it. That's it entirely. That collective consciousness, stepping into those high frequency energies and working together there to create where we're heading, which is what we want rather than what we have. So
right.
That is where we're heading. So thank you, Jolé. Let's move on to the next section.
Where do you see the world's economy moving forward with all this upheaval and turmoil that is coming and change that's coming for us all?
It is going to diversify. Be wary of anyone who says they know what will happen with the economy, because nobody does. All the timelines that you are working on right now are not fixed. We can tell you overarching destiny themes that are at work on Earth, but how you get there, when you get there, and what it looks like as you get there is going to vary depending on what happens at a planetary level. So the economy is not an important thing. We'll say that again. The economy is not an important thing. Now, to humans, that sounds insane, because of course the economy is one of the things that ties you all together. Spiritually, the economy is not an important thing. It is for those of you who are in it, of course, but universally the economy is yet another one of the stranglehold areas. So you are all playing with your resources, trying to perhaps live within your means, even though the system doesn't always make that easy for you. Perhaps you are trying to generate more money for yourself or for others, or to be benevolent. But you didn't design the system, and the system needs to change. It needs to break down. So the economy will diversify, but life always finds a way. And life and your humanity have been sold off to an economic model that only a few are benefiting from. So it is very important, all of these new innovations. It is not important, for example, that we will use the example of Bitcoin. It is not important that Bitcoin is or isn't successful as a new model on Earth. It is very important that it is happening. It is very important that it is trying. It is very important that it exists, because it is a challenger to the old way. And there are other challenges to the old way. So even though people like to put all their focus on it, will it work, won't it work, it's not going to work, it is going to work, all of that is exhausting. What's important is that your economic model is currently not run by any of you. And that is what is going to change in decades to come. But for some of you, you won't necessarily see that in your lifetime, but you will be part of the generation that, shall we say, take a hammer to the ground that the economics have been built on.
One of the things that I'm pretty confident that the whole economic system is going to break down at some point. It is a system that has been built in a way that favors the few at the expense of the many. So the fact that, again, we look to the political systems, you look at the various systems in the world, they're out of balance. They're not here to serve the majority. They're here to serve an elite few. So I think this is a good thing, but clearly it's a very difficult thing for most people to think, because we, regardless of how broken the system is, it's our system. And to think of what the alternative might look like if the economic systems of the countries all broke down, if the market decided it didn't have confidence in the US dollar anymore because there is way too much debt there, and the same is true in the UK, and all of a sudden, what happens, right? This is the whole system tipping over right there. It's built on confidence. Everything is built on confidence. When we believe in it, it does well. It goes up. All of a sudden, if the rug gets pulled, then it disappears quickly. But we're going to need some new systems. So I like this idea that it's important that the likes of the cryptocurrencies, whether it's Bitcoin or any of the others, are out there as challenges to the status quo, because maybe something like that will create a template for what ultimately takes the place of the broken systems we have now. But yeah, I think this is a point which will interest many, because one of the things you always think about when you think about the future, as if we're going to get huge change, how does that system break apart? How does it look when it happens? It's going to be an interesting ride, that's for sure. Jolé, anything you want to add on that?
So now more than ever, it's really important for us to get control over our energy and really build practices that help us stay grounded and rooted into this beautiful Mother Earth energy. It's, as a human, it's incredible when you travel and you see what is capable and possible on this planet. And so it's worth us locking in with it and each other in order to save and change the system so that our future is secure. But the only place that it begins, I just keep hammering this home, is with us. That energy of us wanting to be victims and us wanting to abscond of responsibility or put it on somebody else, that's no longer, that's the issue. That's part of us taking back our power and responsibility for the way that things look, is working with our own energy, dealing with the fact that, I have been bamboozled, but let me take hold of this now and really change my lifestyle and my outlook so that I can affect change in my environment. It is just that simple. So there is nothing more that I can say other than show you how to do it. And that is to really ground your energy and know that you are a part and parcel of what is going on around here, and that you are worthy to make decisions and choices that benefit you and humanity. And engaging that. And that's one of the parts I want us to recognize has been taken away from us, is our ability to engage and execute and take action in these ways. Each and every day, we are bombarded by these symbolisms and energies and all kinds of things, food, drink, that dim our light. So it's more than ever, let's try to be present and aware in our bodies and pay attention to how those things make you feel when you ingest them and digest them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jolé. Right, we are going to go straight over to our next part. Here we go.
What is your view on nature and how nature is going to continue to progress over the course of these next decades or so? Because there's so much, nature seems to be fighting back against a lot of the things that we're doing on this planet, or maybe it's not. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
She will. She does. She has to, for her own survival, for she is more important than humanity. We don't mean that to put anyone down, but she is the life force of this planet. So nature is something that not enough people have yet come to revere and understand. That it is not humanity that have ruined nature by themselves. It is the system of your world that is continually deciding to pillage, and again, you are not allowed to make a decision. You have authoritative parents, and that relationship needs to change so that nature can heal. So there are many of you who are nature activists, and your voices are needed. Your work is needed to help educate other humans, and the desire to get you focused and hooked on technology and forget not only your true nature, but the incredible life force power of nature herself is its own battle for the soul of humanity. Because without nature, humanity does lose its soul, and this planet cannot go in the direction that a small number would like to push it, which is to make it more void of energetic life. So, nature is important. You are told stories about nature and your environmental changes that aren't true. And then there are some truths about your environmental changes in nature. And yes, humanity could make many changes that would help this planet, but this planet is also going through a cycle that it was always destined to go through. And in fact, the awakening is happening for so many of you because you are at a new period of the cycle of Earth. But nature is not only crucial for your survival, it is actually crucial for your thriving, and it contains the wisdom and the encoding that you need for humanity's more conscious future, which is why you are seeing it become increasingly eroded, increasingly jeopardized, increasingly uncared for. There is a very specific agenda to disrupt the power of nature on Earth, which serves the agenda of, shall we say, making humans live smaller lives. But again, that can't come to fruition. It won't energetically be possible. There will be attempts. There will be directions that goes in. But the vibration of the planet and the vibration of nature herself and the consciousness level that you have now reached on Earth is not going to allow that to take place. And we're not saying that so that you all relax and don't do anything. It is important that your voices, your observations, your actions are part of the change. But too often, too many of you go into a doom narrative where you think you are completely controlled and there's nothing you can do about it. We say that's the biggest lie you could tell yourself or anyone else could tell you.
Just pause this very briefly here to think about that. There is a specific agenda out there to disrupt things, but it cannot work. This is very reassuring, and it is down to us. Our collective consciousness can come together and change so many things. So many things. It's the system that decides to pillage the planet. This is not humanity at work. This is a system that we have no control over, and something that needs to change. Hence, we are going through a time of change. This is a new cycle now, as we have already spoken about. This new cycle brings back balance into the equation, balance that doesn't currently exist. So once again, chaos has to be a bit of a prerequisite for change. I'm pretty sure that's where we're heading. And nature is more important than humanity. And I think it kind of makes sense, because without nature, we couldn't survive anyway. So it's a fundamental bedrock for our mere existence. And the last thing I want to say before I bring Jolé in, because what we're going to do with this last little section, that is going to lead directly into the guided meditation visualization, because it perfectly tees up what Jolé is going to give us today. Anyway, Jolé.
I think Lee and Aziz summed it up nicely when they said nature is more important than the economy. So right there, as I said in the beginning, he's helping us to prioritize our healing and prioritize, I don't want to say protection, because when we're aligned with positive life force and creator, we are protected. There's a hedge around us. But at the same time, to be smart and to be able to critically think and make those decisions in the moment that could be the difference between success and failure, right? And so that's really why I do this, is I want us to align with success, whatever that may look like. But at the end of the day, if we boil it down to its dregs, success is a beautiful planet and Mother Earth and water and food and shelter. And when you're a part of humanity, it's that connecting, it's that building of a tribe, a family. Those things really are what help elevate us, and we need that now more than ever. But it seems as if there's a lot of fighting, a lot of hate, a lot of gnashing of teeth. And throughout history, we have seen what that leads to. So let's definitely work to raise our vibration.
Thank you, Jolé. Much appreciated. Right, we're going to go into this last little section.
You've mentioned a few times in this conversation about groups, a small group of people who are...
There are multiple of them.
Yes.
They are actually often disrupting each other's agendas, which
Yes.
is positive for you. They each are vying for different areas of control,
Right.
but none of them want the others to have control. So in a way, they are eating themselves alive. But the public at large wouldn't know much about that, because it's all very well hidden from view. But what must be your focus, and it is your reality, the vibrational power that you as humans have individually and as a group is extraordinary. You are far higher than any of those agendas, groups, those lower vibrational battles. And we are truly hoping that in years to come, there is a bit less focus on what they're doing and a bit more focus on what you are creating for the new earth. That's very important. We understand this is a time of what you would refer to as disclosure. We would call it the Great Reveal, where all of the previously hidden aspects of society come to light. But there are many of you who are wishing or saying, I can't wait till the day it all comes out. We would say, don't wish for that. It won't all come out overnight. It's a steady drip feed, so that not only can people get used to it, but more importantly, they don't lose their vibrational power and they're not overwhelmed. Your vibrational power is your contribution to Earth. One of the reasons that it's so hard for all of you to understand your vibrational power is it would literally blow your mind to truly release this human body, this human psychology, this emotional wraparound that you have in your energy field that makes you the beautiful human you are. So it's far easier for all of you to watch the battle, to watch the darkness. And you've been trained to do this. Lee even identified it. The movie that you are all supposed to open your heart in and care about the characters, and then you are subjected to 30 minutes of war. Do you understand what that's doing to you? So you are opened, you are caring, You are feeling invested, and then the ending you are given is 30 minutes of war and possibly a 1-minute happy ending after that annihilation of your energy field you've just been through. Vibrationally lifting yourself is the key to forward movement on this planet. So whether it is giving yourself to personal practices, habits, tools that you can use on a daily basis to open up.
Awesome. You know, he says things that are fantastic and to keep in our forefront. And one of them is that vibrationally lifting yourself is the key to forward movement on this planet, because your vibrational power is your contribution to this earth. So it is our duty to work on our vibration every day. And I know some of you may say, well, do I have to avoid all these things? Sometimes if your vibration is high enough, or most times, you can look at something that has your heart opening, and then it goes into 30 minutes of war, and you go, ha, 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 ridiculous. I choose love. And you're sitting in that vibrational increase of frequency. So don't let the world and the distractions pull you down. Choose to see it, maybe to be around it, and to know that you're not of it. So let's put our feet flat on the floor, our palms face up on our thighs. If you feel safe enough, please close your eyes, but know that you can meditate and creatively visualize with your eyes open. Ground your energy by creating a grounding cord, by visualizing, imagining if you see, feeling if that is how you kinetically understand it, or hearing. A grounding cord that is connected to your first chakra, which is right in between your sit bones. So if you want to just wiggle your hip bones and you feel like right there, create that grounding cord and see it travel at the speed of love, which is faster than the speed of light, through the lithosphere, the asthenosphere, and root itself into Mother Earth. 6 inches in diameter, smooth all the way down, of a natural earth element that resonates with you. You're going to call in your golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles to clean off this grounding cord, bringing you into the present moment. As you pull your aura in, command my aura. It is commanded my aura is 1.5 feet around me, 18 inches above below me, to the right and to the left of me, to the front and to the back of me. It is commanded my higher self sit at a comfortable distance above my head. And it is commanded my astral body snaps into my physical body. And now my soul architecture, yours and mine, is back. And we are ready to do our work. So we're going to open the bottoms of our feet like we would the lens of our camera, using our feeling, our sight, or our sound, as we call in 15% earth energy from Mother Earth of a color that resonates with you. Traveling up the side channels of your legs as you open the crown of your head like you would the lens of a camera and call in. It is commanded 85% cosmic gold life force energy cascade down through my crown, filling up my brain, my crown, focusing itself down my vertebrae, my spine, lighting up each vertebrae, mixing in with that earth energy, and then beginning to fill me up like water fills up a cup. Feel this. And now, as your soul architecture is all together and you're beginning to clean out your body of any spiritual detritus, dis-ease, illness, as this essence moves into your hips and hits your first chakra, cleaning out any genetic coding, any ancestral issues, any viruses that may be in your body, as it opens up the channel between 1 and 2 and it fills up 2. And this happens as you bring your awareness to the center of your head. And you let this energy go ahead and clean and fill up your chakras while we concentrate on removing and dissolving fear that is in the center of our head. It doesn't belong to us. So we are going to have a fear detox. All the programs, the patterns, the vows, the agreements, the curses, the spells, the other obligations that our ancestors or us may have made with any energies or entities other than positive divine life force energy, we get rid of, we resolve and dissolve. We move that out and down the grounding cord, and any energy that's attached moves down with it being filled up with the gold of Mother Earth and cosmic divine life force energy, filling up, giving us new perspective, new way of doing things, new energy, and filling us up with courage, letting go of fear, removing that because it doesn't belong to us. It's been given to us. And you know this to be true because you see children, they are fearless. They're not afraid of anything. That's why we have to protect them from themselves. So now that we have the knowledge and the wisdom of how to protect ourselves, let's engage that with our critical thinking and our fearlessness. So we put a golden sun above our head, and inside of this golden sun, we put divine fearlessness above our head. And with this comes lots of joy and amusement, calculated risk. All of these things are swirling around. All of the positive energy of that childlike empowerment of divine fearlessness. And we're going to go ahead and allow that golden sun to take the beautiful railway of that golden divine life force energy, that 85% cosmic gold. That golden sun's going to go ahead and jump on inside and move down throughout your body. And like a little divine bomb, it's going to open itself up and turn into little loving cells and move all the way throughout your body, pushing out into your aura layer and filling you up with that divine fearlessness. Now, I want you to see that electricity of love pulsating off of your aura layer and starting to light up your toroidal field. As you lock that energy in to that toroidal field, which is your own personal ley line, which aligns you with Mother Earth, sending that message that today I am divinely fearless and am locked into your messages as that pyramid with that capstone lights up above the toroidal field. And that divine beam of light coming forth from the heavens beams down through that capstone, down through you and into Mother Earth. So now you are doubly grounded, not only from yourself, but from divine life force energy. Get clear, work it out, because you got this energy pulsating through your body. You got that gold light cascading. You got that toroidal field. It is yours. Work it out. Organize it. Empower it. It's beautiful. It's like you are a geyser of gold oil just sprouting out and just showering down, coming in and sprouting out, filling up that aura layer, filling up that astral body, cleaning out the center of your head, grounding your energy, reaching up and grabbing all of the positive energy Mother Earth has to give as you lock in with her messages. And you receive that new information that empowers you and raises your vibration. As you begin to detach from the system and align with nature, bringing in more creativity and the technology that your body needs to up level into that vibration and frequency of unspeakable beauty. So hold this vision. See yourself aligned and in rhythm with Mother Earth, really having access to that divine cosmic life force energy, as well as the nurturing energy of Mother Earth, knowing that that energy moves through you, healing your body, cleaning out your aura layer, making you true to you and that intuition from the divine as you lock into the messages from Mother Earth and you align with your true purpose. And today we move through our day from now on, and we step out being divinely fearless, moving towards the success, which is what? Uplifting our vibration and our frequency, because that is our contribution. That is what is going to break this system down. Your happiness, your joy, your health. That is what is going to undo what has been done in the highest and best way with grace and ease. So hold this vision, see that beautiful gold oil mixed with that earth energy sprouting out of you as it comes in from your feet and into your crown and sprouting out of the sides, filling up that aura layer, lighting up that toroidal field and that pyramid that beams its way up into the heavens, or the heavens beams its way down, straight down, all the way through you, lighting up your spine down into Mother Earth, receiving those messages and fortifying that grounding cord that's already there. And you're just dancing all the joy, all the amusement, all the love in the highest and best way with grace and ease. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. Take a deep breath in, exhale, close your feet chakras, close your hand chakras. And when you're ready, you can also close your crown, but just know that that beam of light and that is still doing what it does. It's just you aren't open to receiving anything but the information from the divine. Anything else will go through your higher self. And if your higher self wants you to have it, it'll pop it on down into you. But this is the way to break the system, is to empower you to believe that you have the power to work with all of your energy. Take a deep breath in, stay connected. Give yourself a little wiggle and let all that energy process and settle. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining us. It's such an honor and a privilege, and we are grateful. And if you like what you see and hear, please always share, subscribe, and hit that like button. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Jolé. Yeah, that was beautiful. You know, again, it's all about that stepping into our power. Higher vibrational contribution is what is going to change everything. And that collective consciousness as we come together. That was fantastic. So yeah, just to wrap things up then, really, just to say a big thank you to the community again, as per Jolé. And, you know, Anita, we love having you here. High Priestess Anita over in Italy. I know that Leslie over in Costa Rica couldn't join us live today, but she's going to be watching the recording shortly. So I said, I'll give you a wave. There you go. So, and I must show you some of her work soon, actually, because she sent me a video of something. She's an artist, and her and her husband used to do house makeovers and things like that. And honestly, this furniture and the likes that she's created is absolutely amazing.
It's an organite coffee table with 24 karat gold and all the copper and the iron and the aluminum and the crystals. Very powerful piece. And it also is a waterfall table. It's just one of the things I play with.
So, you know, it's great to have you with us. And I know our friend Janet, again, unfortunately, because we're going an hour early and it doesn't kind of work so much for Janet, but I know she's going to be watching as well. So Janet, hi. So, yeah, and good luck this week to Janet as well, because I know she's got some important stuff kicking off that I'm sure is going to go wonderfully well for her. But that's it. If you want to join our distribution list, email me at johndrew@elevatedplanet.life. As Jolé will tell you, we also have our Nos Populi community. Is that right, Jolé?
Correct. That is correct. And we'd love to have you join us. We have all nice little tidbits to help you build that skill set and practice that we talk about. And we also have just so much information to help you heal.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so I think we pretty much answered all the questions in the invitation. But again, as always, if there's any questions that you have, is there any focus you want to give? If there's any contributions you want to make to this, to the show, you know, you'd be very welcome to do so. Oh, one final point. This book, Susan Graw's Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons. I did an interview with Susan on Friday. It was excellent. We're going to break that down a little for next Sunday's show. And we are going to basically showcase Susan, because what she has to share is something that could be life-changing for so many. And I have so much respect for Susan. So thank you, Susan, for sharing all the time that you did. And yeah, for the work you're doing in the world. So that's it then. So thank you to the community. Thank you, Jolé.
Thank you, John. Thank you, community. Take care.
And see you next week. Take care.